Hello there, and welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga Show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 743. That is 743 of the Agostinho Zinga Show, coming live and direct from me from an undisclosed location somewhere in the depths of London. It is your friend, your guy, or the friend you wish you never had, or the guy you wish you never knew, Agostinho Zinga, and I hope you're doing well wherever you are on this lovely Friday morning. I hope you're doing splendid. I hope you're doing fine. How am I? All good, all things considered. I cannot complain. I honestly cannot complain. But I will, because guess what? It's a podcast, and that's what you're meant to do on a podcast. Complain and get agitated about the most minor inconveniences for the pleasure of your listening fans, or viewers, or streamers, or participants, or family, or friends, or ex-compadres, exes, whatever it may be, and whoever you are, wherever you be. Thank you for joining me. I do really appreciate it. I really do. Okay? Cool, bless. So, big news to talk about, as most of you know, regarding the Joe Rogan deal that he's re-signed with Spotify. Massive news. But before we speak about that, I want to quickly highlight this, because I think this is going to be an interesting thing to sort of observe from the outside going in, or from now on going on. I'm not sure how long we're going to be able to see this, but I just want you guys to quickly get an idea of what I just saw on the timeline today. I thought it was kind of interesting. So, I'm sure most of you guys know who Ice Spice is, right? I'm sure most of you guys know who Ice Spice is. So, Ice Spice has been having a bit of a, I guess it happens to all new artists. You know, first they love you, then they start to hate you. And she recently had a performance at a Spotify stage where basically people were questioning her stage presence, questioning her artistry, and basically asking, is her 5 minutes of fame up? But I get the feeling a lot of people, when they look at Ice Spice, they kind of want her to be more than what she is. You know, that's the issue. I think they don't really accept that she's just exactly what you see in a tin. The kind of music she puts out, she's going to continue putting it out. The way she acts on stage is how she's going to continue acting on stage. And if you want something else from her, you probably have to find it in another artist, probably. But I'm curious to see what you guys think. So, on the timeline, this video went viral. As you can see here, right? This video on the timeline went kind of viral on my side. She's performing on some sort of Spotify performance stage thing, performing her new track called Think You the Shit Fart. And somebody quote tweeted it and said, either let her work with somebody who can help with her performing and stage presence, or send her back to the Bronx, please. So obviously the end bit is a bit cunty, a little bit mean, unnecessary. But the general premise of the tweet is that Ice Spice maybe isn't the greatest performer. She maybe doesn't do much on stage except for turn around and shake her ass, as you can see here via the screenshot that I'm showing you here on the screen if you're watching it. She's actually wearing a really nice Laquan Smith jumpsuit though. So big up Laquan Smith, one of the best new designers to come out from America, really, I think, in recent times. Always debuted stuff during New York Fashion Week, an incredible fashion designer. So she's wearing that good Laquan Smith, but unfortunately it is just a standard, Ice Spice performance. Cool, no worries, right? So this lady obviously isn't too happy with Ice Spice's performance and thinks she needs to go back to performance school and whatnot. I personally don't think that's the case. I think, like I said before, I think people want Ice Spice to be something else than what she is. And unfortunately, this is just the, or fortunately or unfortunately, this is the artist you're going to get. Personally, I like her music. Personally, I like what she has to offer. I'm not really looking at Ice Spice to be like an incredibly expansive artist. She's not going to be Doja Cat. I think people need to like wake up and figure she's not that talented and maybe doesn't have that much of a range. But what she does very well. Cool, no problem. But this lady obviously didn't like it. But the good thing about Ice Spice, I feel like, is she really does mind her business. I've personally always thought that she might be a bit on a spectrum. That's my analysis. I've always thought she had a sprinkling of the tism about her, a little sprinkling of tism, or maybe she's just very business savvy and just unproblematic. But she definitely keeps us outside of the drama. She's not involved in the beef, apart from the little jab she throws at Lato and stuff, but she kind of keeps her head, underwater and shit. So she's kind of safe in that regard, even though she's because I think most girls I don't know if this is a thing in America, but I think most girls generally, most women hate women, right? They're kind of jealous of, especially if they're hot. So it's kind of interesting to see that she gets love from most women, especially black women, who sometimes, there's a bit of hate between like the different shades of black women. If you're dark skinned, if you're light skinned, whatever it may be, mixed race, blah 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 blah. So the fact that she gets love across the board is quite rare. I think so personally, but she does get it. Cool, but she might be in trouble now going forward because she saw this tweet from this young lady and she didn't take too kindly to it. So she decided to reply back. And the clapback I thought was pretty funny, right? Ice Spice claps back on her Twitter account and says, "While we're being constructive," and she does a dash and she posts a picture of the lady that told her about stage presence, right? And she's very big, aka fat. Right? So obviously you kind of get where Ice Spice is coming, right? Like, you want to be constructive to me, let's be constructive to you, right? Like, you might need to get on a treadmill, whatever, get on Ozempic, put down the Popeyes, stop eating big back food, whatever she wants to say. Maybe she wants to question something about the hair, maybe something about the blurred hand, the angle, whatever, the phone, whatever. There's something in there that she wants to kind of really get at. Maybe the yellow door is a sign that she lives in Section 8 housing. I don't know what it is. But I'm wondering. I'm really am wondering. I'm really, really, really am wondering, right? What happens now? Like, will she now get this the flaming from the black women? Because this is a fat black woman, but she's also a very pretty black woman. And if you know anything about social media and how people act, you'll know that social media, especially on black Twitter, is basically run by really fat, pretty black women. So if you go after fat, pretty black women, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. They're kind of the protected class. They're up there with the gays, right? The gays and the fat black women, especially the pretty ones, are very much protected for a good reason. Because sometimes people think they're like, the easy targets. So I wonder if Ice Spice is going to get some clapbacks now from more of gay Twitter, from more of fat black Twitter, or just fat people in general, because she decided to poke some fun at this girl who decided to kind of give her a pretty nasty critique. Now, to be fair, the first bit what she said here, either let her work with someone who can help her perform, and stage presence, or send her back to the Bronx. No, the first part is okay, right? The bit about send her back to the Bronx, that's a little bit snarky and unnecessary. But to be honest to her too, this is Twitter. Twitter is basically built for this snarky type of interactions and replies. Let's look at the views. Look at the views. 3.5 million. So clearly, being snarky and being a bit of a bitch, right? It does pay. It does actually work on Twitter. So maybe Ice Spice shouldn't have taken this too personally. This is just the nature of the game on Twitter. But I think if you say what people like that say, right, you should also be able to take this sort of like clapbacks. You shouldn't cry. Like, if you can tell her she needs to work on a stage presence and she should go back to the Bronx, you can't now cry when she says, "Yo, you're a fatty, put down the fucking Popeyes." You can't complain, right? You cannot complain. It's not that deep, really. And if it is that deep, close your laptop, turn off your phone, and go outside and don't have a burger, but go outside and breathe some fresh air and touch some grass. It's not that deep. But I'm curious to see what happens going forward, because I think Ice Spice has done very well at being very unproblematic. So I'm curious to see what does happen with her now going forward. She'll probably end up deleting this tweet anyway, so you won't probably see it. But I'm curious to see what will happen going forward. I am really, really curious to see what will happen going forward. I really, really am. Big up Austin Casey, big up everybody in the chat here. See, yeah, brother, we do have a Popeyes. Yeah, of course, we have a Popeyes here. It actually just launched, I think, a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. It's really popular, to be honest. Every time when it first opened, there was queues, obviously, because we've never really had that kind of greasy, super crunchy chicken available. Most of our chicken shops, I don't know what it is about the way we fry, but most of our frying in our like hood chicken shops, it's usually really wet. It's not crunchy. Popeyes is really kind of dry. It kind of reminds me of like how it would be if you cook like a chicken wing in an air fryer. So that kind of style of wings is not really popular here, or it's not really the thing. So when it launched, everyone was going crazy for it. To be fair, English people don't really like Popeyes chicken burgers. I gotta be honest. I know a lot of boys, especially guys from ends who I still speak to and shit. Sometimes when I watch some videos, a lot of people from the UK don't really rate the Popeyes chicken burger. They think it's overrated, and I have to be honest. I think I agree. I think it's very difficult. I don't know, maybe because I'm not as fat as I used to be, but I find it very difficult to finish a meal that includes a chicken burger, wings, and some chips. That's like a standard for us in the UK. Maybe it's different in the US, but in the UK, whenever you go to a chicken shop, the standard order is always to order a chicken burger, a portion of wings, whether it's 2 or 3 or 4, and some fries. But because the chicken burger in Popeyes is so thick and dense, it's really difficult to fucking eat all of that. It's super difficult. So, and also I feel like the Popeyes chicken burger, like, it's just a bit, it's just too much to fucking finish. It's just, you got the bread, then you get, it's just a lot. It's just a lot of stuff to put in your mouth. Whereas the UK chicken burgers are like, it's basically some chicken fillet that's been smashed, right? Just processed chicken. It's not that deep, but it's really thin, to be honest. And obviously it's covered in batter, and then you fry it, so it's not that deep to eat. But the Popeye chicken thing is like an actual piece of chicken. Obviously it's steroids and shit, but it's a bit weird. It's a bit different. But what can you do? Big up Dusky the Flow. What's good, Dusky the Flow? Who makes the best chicken burger here? I don't really know. I got to be honest. I don't really know, because that's the thing. I don't really order chicken burgers when I go. I don't know about you guys. Whenever I go to a burger joint, I much prefer to get like a cheeseburger and try what their burgers like. I don't really get a chicken burger. I've never done that. I'm not really. I always feel like chicken burgers are like the least good option on the burger menu. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, there's what's that thing called? I think there's a place called Mother Cluckers actually in the UK, in London. I went there once, and their chicken burger was really good. Mother Cluckers was really good. Outside of the Mother Cluckers? Yeah, Mother Clucker. Yeah, actually, Game Breed Footballer said, no, to be fair, Game Breed, you laugh, right? But the KFC mayo is really not, I don't know what they put in their mayo, but their mayo is really good. If I have to pick the best mayo from all chicken shops, I think KFC has the best mayo. I don't know what they put in their chicken, but to be fair, I prefer the Millie Fillet burger. I don't really like the big one. I think the Millie Fillet burger is like the perfect amount, personally, for me, because again, I like to have with a bit of wings and some fries. I'm on my big back shit, but I feel like the mini fillet burger is fucking perfect. So there's this place called Mother Cluckers in the UK that does a really good chicken burger. Obviously, Mother Cluckers, it's in the name, right? Lols, the owner's white, but then he's got his like black friend there to cook with him, right? Of course, for some authenticity, right? For some authenticity, he's got a black guy to taste it. Or for the seasoning, right? The white guy's got the money. He's the one that imports all the chicken, and then the black guy has to add the seasoning. Oh, I fucking love it. Anyway, so yeah, Mother Cluckers in the UK is really good. Mother Cluckers do a good chicken burger, but that's the only place that I would probably recommend as a place to go. They've got a couple in like trendy bits of East London, like Shoreditch and shit. So if you're ever in the UK, I recommend you check those out. Mother Cluckers is really good. I'd definitely recommend a Mother Clucker, but again, cause see, I don't know about you guys, but I prefer. You see what I mean about the fillet? I prefer my chicken fillets like this. But the Popeyes ones are like, it's like an actual piece of fucking chicken thigh. I actually prefer it a little bit thinner. Like, I prefer my chicken fillets kind of like a schnitzel, if that makes any sense. I know that doesn't make any sense really, but I kind of want it flat, I kind of want it as thin as possible, but then obviously still with chicken flavor with obviously the battering. I don't want it to be like an actual bit of chicken, you know what I mean? And then it's just too much to eat. It's just, maybe I'm different and I'm weird in that regard, but yeah, Mother Cluckers is really good. Check out fucking Mother Cluckers. Moving on. So most of you will know, courtesy of my flipping title of the podcast and obviously the news across social media, Joe Rogan has ended up re-signing with Spotify. It's really interesting because a few people, myself included, were wondering what he was going to do because his deal was coming up. The original deal that he signed with Spotify, if I'm not mistaken, was like 200 million, just before the pandemic or just in the pandemic times. It was an exclusivity deal, but he also got to basically keep his IP. intellectual property, which meant after the term was over, he could essentially go and shop his podcast around. The original deal was a podcast exclusive deal. When they signed Rogan, I'm pretty sure they also launched Spotify video with the podcast, so you can obviously watch it that way. And if you had a paid for subscription, you could watch it in the background, which is pretty cool. But it was obviously only exclusive to Spotify only, so there was no more YouTube live streaming. There was no more full shows on the YouTube, only clips. There was, who else? There was no more Apple Podcasts syncing and stuff. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, even though I'm a big Rogan fan, and Rogan was one of the main reasons why I started podcasting myself. Rogan, definitely why I started podcasting. I'd say Bill Burr is probably why I started doing it on my own solo, because I love Bill Burr's solo podcast, right? The Monday morning after Tuesday flipping podcast is flipping amazing. So big up Bill Burr. And even though I love Rogan, even I have to admit, being a serial Rogan listener, ever since he signed to Spotify, I don't listen to the show as much, because I don't open my Spotify. Even though, again, I pay for a Spotify. I got like a monthly subscription. I pay for a premium account, but I never open it. I'm always using Apple Music. I always use Overcast as my main podcast player, or the Apple Podcast app on my iPhone. But I very rarely open Spotify. Sometimes if I want to watch a particular episode, I'll watch it, but it's not like at the front of mind anymore. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. So this is a great deal. This new deal is a great flipping deal, because from what I'm reading correctly, it allows him to put the shows up on YouTube. Now, I don't know if that means it's going to be on his own YouTube account under his, or if Spotify are going to create a separate Joe Rogan Spotify YouTube channel, and then have all the live shows. Sorry, then have all the podcast episodes on there, because that'd probably make more sense. In it, if you're going to give him loads of money, you might as well keep some of that ad revenue from AdSense on that side of things, because the views on flipping YouTube, even before he signed, were crazy, right? He was getting high millions of views, and you imagine even now it'll probably get more. This is amazing news, because it also proves that Rogan is definitely a big deal. I think a lot of people were kind of speculating, myself included. Do the numbers really make sense? But considering that Spotify has let go a bunch of people, considering Spotify has not re-signed a bunch of podcasts, but they're looking like they're honing in on the ones that are actually, bringing the most ROI, return on investment, it seems like, from my understanding, Rogan's numbers behind the scenes must be really good. Rogan's numbers behind that cloak, right? Because Spotify don't like to reveal the analytics. It's basically their one bargaining chip and negotiation tactic they have. Same with Netflix and whatever. But I'm pretty sure that if Spotify are willing to offer Joe Rogan, or willing to give him 250 million, most likely the numbers are really good. Especially when they're kind of prospecting out the ads they're gonna get off the back of it and shit. So clearly Rogan is doing something good there, or is do something well there, because you don't really get these kind of deals if the numbers don't make sense on their end. So congrats to Rogan on that regard. Let's read the article courtesy of Wall Street Journal, who broke the story exclusively. Joe Rogan gets a new Spotify deal worth up to $250 million. Hit show to be distributed broadly, including on YouTube rather than exclusively on audio streaming services. So let's read the entire article here. Spotify has reached a new deal with star podcaster Joe Rogan that will allow his hit show to be distributed broadly. Rogan's fresh deal, estimated to be worth as $250 million over the multi-year term, according to people familiar with the matter, involves an upfront minimum guarantee. I wonder what that guarantee is. 250 M's. What do you think his minimum guarantee is? I'm going to say like 100 mil. I'm going to say the minimum guarantee is like 100 mil. Just straight up as a guarantee, just to hold you down. Fucking hell. Plus a revenue sharing agreement based on ad sales. So great. So there, under the new licensing agreement, Spotify will sell ads for and distribute the Joe Rogan Experience across several podcast platforms, including a new video format on YouTube. The company said on Friday. Under his previous deal, the show was exclusive to Spotify. So yeah, this sounds like they're probably going to have a separate. I think that they're gonna have a separate kind of Joe Rogan Spotify kind of channel. Maybe, I don't know, or maybe they'll just put the AdSense under Spotify. I don't really know, but let's see what happens. Under the new licensing agreement, Joe Rogan Experience has released more than 2,200 episodes. Cool conversations are kind of mental nourishment, Rogan said in a Spotify blog post. Encourages people to have smaller conversations with their friends, and it just generally makes life more interesting. Spotify shares raised 2% on Friday. The new deal is emblematic of the shifting economics in podcasting, which has matured in both audiences and reach and advertising spend since Rogan's first deal. Spotify is working to revise the terms of its deals with top talent so that the shows are distributed on several platforms to maximize their audience and ad sales rather than requiring exclusivity. That's a very interesting approach, isn't it? The whole reason why Spotify were doing the exclusive deals was for user acquisition. So I'm assuming now Spotify have realized that they've topped out, right? There's only so many new people that are going to sign up to Spotify exclusively to listen to a podcast. So you're better off just signing talent on your platform or signing talent under your flipping umbrella and then allowing them to be distributed across all the major networks or platforms, whatever, so that you can bring eyes back onto you or just make money on the ads, basically. So, so essentially Spotify are turning into a distributor themselves, really, if you think about it, right? It continues. It's also aiming to pay smaller minimum guarantees and emphasize revenue sharing, a model that helps share risk with talent. So maybe he does get a minimum. Again, minimum could be like 10 mil to 100 mil, but still the rest of it will probably be tied up in ad sales. But considering how much money Rogan makes on ads and considering the blockbuster ads he gets, he probably will get that full 250 mil anyway, and maybe more. If anything, it incentivizes him to actually do a better job. Maybe there is no cap. That's the crazy thing. Maybe there's no cap. Maybe it's 250 million, as a minimum. But there's actually no cap as to what you can make. Fucking hell. Spotify struck the first deal with Rogan in 2020. During its initial blitz in the medium, it agreed to pay more than 100 million to bring Rogan Experience on Spotify exclusively in a bid to jumpstart the podcast listening platform. The show has remained far and away the most popular podcast on Spotify. The show has remained far and away the most popular show on Spotify. Again, proof that when you're doing the right thing, you're doing the right thing. Rogan's previous deal with Spotify ties his payout and estimated to land around 180 to 200 million by the end of the year. This term to audience number targets. God damn. Rogan's going to be worth $500 million just from fucking podcasting. Forget all these other business ventures on it and anything else he's probably involved with in the shadows. He's going to be worth $500 million just from sitting in front of a Sennheiser microphone. Incredible. Spotify spent heavily on podcasting in the format's early days to build a large audiences. While that early foray in the podcasting proved costly, Spotify surpassed Apple to become the most popular podcast and listening platform. Really? I did not know that. To be fair, I've always wondered why Apple have never really invested into the podcasting field or genre in general. I wonder why they've never done it. Maybe there's just not enough money in it, or maybe it just requires too much effort. They have their app, obviously. They have their platform, whatever. You obviously distribute your stuff on Apple Podcasts, but they've never really invested any big money in signing anybody exclusively. They've kind of left that to everybody else. Now the company is working to become more disciplined in its podcast spending by distributing Rogan's show broadly. Spotify stands to make more money from ads it sells on podcasts reaches larger audiences because they realize they can't make any more money on fucking people signing up. They're not going to suddenly find 200 plus million people to sign up to Spotify. It's not going to happen. They can only raise prices to a certain amount, so they have to make money other ways. And another way to make money is obviously ads. Spotify's deal with Rogan landed in hot water in 2022 when rocker Neil Young pulled his music due to what he said of vaccine misinformation. The company stood by Rogan, with chief executive Daniel Ek saying, largest audio platform in the world involves embracing diverse voices and offering opinions. The company chased scale in podcasting. Now, my initial thoughts is that I feel like Rogan is worth every single penny of that 250 million, if not more. I think it's a nice thing to see somebody who's like the leader, the kind of, you know, the number one person getting the big deals. It doesn't always happen, especially like when you're an originator, quote unquote, type person in that kind of long form podcast format that he's always done. It's nice to see somebody that's been doing it for so long actually get their just rewards and actually get a deal that is reflective of the impact and the scale of which people listen to his podcast. I was listening to How Long Gone the other day, and one of the hosts, I think it was Jason, said something about because I think one of the guests on How Long Gone podcast, which I love to listen to, the guest basically said something along the lines of, "Oh, you guys get a lot of press about how you're so popular and stuff, but no one can understand why." And I've always understood this, and I've always thought the same thing. And a lot of people on the How Long Gone Reddit think the same thing too, right? A lot of the press they get is a little bit weird, right? It feels like it's kind of like payola. But Jason made a really good point in that he said that he thinks when people listen to podcasts, they want to feel like they want to feel like they are being somewhat intelligent. They want to feel like, they want to feel like they're smart, but they also don't want to let people know they listen to podcasts. So it's also kind of a little bit like you're kind of a bit ashamed about listening to shows. So no one really is upfront or is honest about what they listen to. So I think the same thing applies to Rogan. I think there are people out there like myself who are unabashed, unashamed Rogan fans, but I think there's a broad set of people out there that don't, talk about how much they listen to Rogan, but they clearly do, because the numbers speak for themselves. And it's good to see that sort of stuff get rewarded. I also think, especially in light of all of these comedians who are like investing in crazy amounts in like ridiculous studios, trying to fucking, build out all these different shows and shit and do networks. I think it's a really sobering reminder that at the end of the day, if your shows are good and you're somewhat interesting and you have good guests, you have good conversations, you will get rewarded. All of those bells and whistles, all of those crazy shows, sketch comedy things you're doing behind the paywall, all these nonsense, and having a million people work behind you as staff is a waste of money. Rogan does the Joe Rogan experience essentially with Jamie. I think there's, a couple flipping killer Navy SEALs guys around the fucking complex that he records his shows. And I've heard there's some booker dude involved, right? Basically 5 people in that facility that are basically working with the podcast, but in the actual room itself, there's only 2 people that work on that show, minus the guest. 2 people. Rogan the host and young Jamie behind the boards, and he controls all the mic levels and the camera switching. It's not even like on T5K where they have a separate person doing the fucking mic switches or someone watching the levels. He does everything, right? So I think this is a good reminder for a lot of those flipping guys out there, especially in the comedy world, who are just doing way too much with their podcast, that at the end of the day, if your show is good, people are gonna respond to it well and you'll get rewarded. But it is about putting on a good show. And I think despite Rogan changing over the years, I think you have to be honest. Even the guys that don't like him, the show's been it's been insanely consistent. Let's be honest. It's been so consistent over the years, so steady. It's fallen off a little bit sometimes, but not fallen off to a point where you're flipping deleting it or you're unsubscribing it, whatever. It's just remained steady. And now that it's coming back onto YouTube, I feel like it's going to be a game changer, especially the comments. People really underestimate how much of a great community there was around the Joe Rogan Experience comments. I feel like the comments on the episodes were sometimes even better than the shows. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but you sometimes learn quite a bit from the comments. People kind of going back and forth and shit, recommending other videos to watch and shit. The comment section on Rogan's flipping YouTube was banging. So I'm hoping, even if they don't have the live chat enabled during the live stream, because that can be a bit dicey, especially with all the different political opinions and politically United States being where it is at the moment, I think it's important that they leave the comments open and leave them like a free-for-all like the Rogan Experience was. I really, really, really do hope that's the case, because if that's the case, I think it's going to be great to see that going forward. And obviously, I really do like this idea that Spotify are doing, where they're signing podcast and they're saying, hey, we're going to sign you, but then we're going to have you distributed on all platforms so that we can get the maximum amount of listeners, but then also we can maximize our ads, which is pretty cool to see going forward. Now, I'm wondering, what's this 250 million going to do to Rogan? Some people said that 200 million he initially got from Rogan, I think some people hypothesized it was nearly 300. Some people were saying that 300 million changed Rogan. I don't think it did personally. I think COVID broke Rogan's brain, which is understandable. I think COVID broke a lot of our brains. I think it might have broke my brain temporarily, being locked in indoors and shit was horrible. But I think if you're somebody like Rogan and you had money and you have wealth and you have means and you're still not able to do what you want, like the thing that you love and enjoy, like recording shows and doing stand up, it can really break your brain, especially when you're getting all this misinformation from mainstream media, blah blah blah. So I think COVID really did break Rogan's brain more so than the 200 million. But I also think people miss this part of it. I think also moving to Austin. I think moving to Austin definitely changed Rogan, especially at the stage of his life he's at, right? In terms of, he's early 50s, he's making loads of money. They always say whenever you start to make loads more money, you end up kind of leaning more to the conservative side because you want to quote unquote conserve your money, whatever it may be. And obviously those type of things are mostly going to be lent to the right side of politics. So I think those things change Rogan more than the money. I think one thing you have to give the guy credit, he's not, for somebody who has a lot of money, he doesn't speak about money, for somebody who has a lot of cash, he doesn't really speak about it. If anything, he does loads of fun things. He kind of does what he wants, essentially. He opens a fucking comedy club, and by all accounts, the comedy mothership, people have said on podcasts and stuff, he pays crazily well, probably too well. But he can afford to because he's got so much money to burn, literally. He's not going to be able to spend all the money he's making. So he's kind of like giving back to comedy in a way with opening up this club. It's basically like a charity, but he also gets to kind of put on these fun shows. So if anything, I don't think money really changes him that much, really. If anything, I think it's just him getting older, him moving to another state where, people's political opinions are a bit different than what he was kind of used to listening to in LA, and his perspective on the world changing after COVID. So I think people that are scared about him changing with the money, it's not going to be that. If anything, the longer he lives in Austin, the more he's going to probably change maybe for the worse. But I still think going forward, I think the best is yet to come. I think things are going to keep evolving and changing and whatever, maybe with Joe Rogan. And I think the best is yet to come. And I think, again, considering all the shit shows around there at the moment, all the shit bits of entertainment, I still enjoy listening to Rogan. And I think now it's back on YouTube. Let's be honest, guys. Loads of you watch me on YouTube. I'm sure most of you don't even check out my fucking podcast on fucking Apple and all the audio platforms. Audio is definitely not king. I get most of my views and listens definitely from YouTube. So I'm sure a lot of you guys will probably end up listening or checking out the odd clip and that of Rogan because it's available on YouTube, one of the biggest platforms to check out some of that content. So I'm sure it's definitely going to do good things for him going forward. But let's actually check the article courtesy of Spotify, where they kind of dig a bit deeper into it. They do a little bit of a interview with Rogan himself. That's a smile of somebody that just got the wire. That's the smile of somebody that just got confirmation that the wire hit, right? That minimum guarantee wire just hit. That's a smile of somebody who knows he's going to have as much Buffalo Trace as he wants. He's going to have as much Buffalo Trace as he wants now. That money just hit. Anyway, this is courtesy of Spotify. It says the art of podcasting with Rogan and his new multi-year Spotify partnership. They basically go over the same deals and they kind of give a bit of an interview, right? So let's see. You've released more than 2,200 episodes of JRE and have a signature interview style, especially length of the conversations. Talk a bit about how your style has evolved. It's really funny that people are so like miffed about this idea of like the length of the conversation. There's still fucking podcasts out there that exist where people like try not to go over an hour. I've never understood this. I don't know about you guys, but if there's a streamer or if there's a person that I like, I can listen to you the whole entire day. If you're streaming for 24 hours, I will tune in for 6 hours, then I'll pop out, then I'll keep tuning in later. It doesn't really matter, really, like how long your show is. If I like the person and I like what they're speaking about, I'm going to listen to it. But still, the mainstream media have this weird, broken idea about like, like they have a strange brain when it comes to flipping when it comes to the media, like, oh, the length of the conversations is so long. Come on, man, come on. Anyway, he says here, I think podcasting is an art form, and it definitely, what he says here, it definitely sucked at when I first started it. I was curious. Oh yeah, big up Keith Thompson.
Joe has 8 different revenue streams and all he does is hang out with his friends and go hunting.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, big up big up my girl
Why couldn't I have had twins with a successful comic like this? Damn, I'm a moron.
We have to do a no comment on that one, innit? For now, to keep it peace. But that's so true, man. Yo, Rogan's wife definitely lucked out, innit? Like, no wonder she doesn't talk. If I was Rogan's wife, I also wouldn't talk. You know that. If I was Rogan's wife, I also wouldn't say a fucking word. Like, what's the point? Don't you find it interesting though, right? Rogan's wife is actually filthy rich, right? Filthy rich. Doesn't say a word. Doesn't even have a public Instagram. Brendan's missus, you know, they kind of pretend like they're rich, and she's all up in the fucking, you know. Don't you like that? That's how it always is, isn't it? Right? The ones that actually do have it just kind of, you know, do their thing. The ones that don't are all out here fucking, you know, sitting in the fucking Lambo truck and tilting their head to the side so you can see the badge and shit. It's like, come on, bro. Come on. Anyway, big up. Let's quickly go over this question. So, let me start again. You've released more than 2,200 episodes of JRE and a signature interview style, especially the length of the conversations. Talk a little bit about how your style has evolved over the years. I think podcasting is an art form, and I definitely sucked at it when I first started. I was curious, but I didn't understand how to make conversations flow. I did not know when to shut up and listen, and I didn't know how to make someone comfortable so that you can get the most out of their perspective. I learned how to assist the conversations flow instead of waiting for my turn to talk. I learned how to be fully locked in with the other person saying. I've always wondered why this isn't something most of his friends follow. Most of Rogan's friends within that JRE verse who've got their own pods. I think of Burr, I think of Brendan being big ones that kind of jump out to me. I think of Andrew Schultz. They never let their guest, they never shut the fuck up. That's the thing. Rogan's, one of the things he was kind of known for when he first started was being an excellent interviewer, an excellent conversation, especially long form. He'd let there be space for silence. He'd allow people to talk. He'd allow people to kind of, think, mull over questions, maybe go down, meander a little bit, and then come back to the main point. Now, obviously, he's kind of changed. He's kind of gotten a bit, in his old age, he kind of does seem to, kind of dictate where the conversations goes. I think a good example is Bobby Lee episode. Bobby Lee was trying to be silly and Rogan just wasn't having it. He was always trying to like throw at him fucking COVID talk and all this sort of nonsense. But one thing Rogan did do really well in the beginning was he was really good at just being quiet, allowing people to actually have a speak, having had their say. And I wonder why a lot of his friends didn't copy that. They just kind of copied obviously the pod, but they do this thing where they just wait for their turn to speak. They're not actually listening. And I think Rogan does really a good job of listening to the person, even though he does, again, cannibalize conversations nowadays. Maybe because he just feels like, maybe because nowadays it's less about him being old and more so about him his stature. No, he's bigger in stature, if that makes sense. So maybe nowadays he doesn't need to listen to you because he's fucking Joe Rogan. So maybe people are coming to listen to Rogan not because of the guest, but because of him now. So maybe he doesn't feel like he's I don't know, you know what I mean. A lot of what helps is I don't do it for many hours and let me go again. Jesus Christ. A lot of what helps is that I've done it for so many hours. I learned how to do it better over with trial and error, but also that I only have people on the show that I'm generally interested in talking to. I never do a podcast just because of a person is popular. I'm always from a place of, I think I would be cool if I spoke to this person. I've also learned so much, not just from all the episodes themselves, but also from the audiobooks I've listened to, the articles, the books I've learned, the documentaries I've watched, and for even the show, I've always feel like in starting a podcast, I stumble into fantastic accidental education just by being interested in talking to people and being fortunate enough to want people to listen to them. And that, I think, is at the heart of his success. Just being fucking curious. Just being curious. I love it. Any guests that change the way you think about life? Too many to name. I've been blown away by countless times by the way the brilliant people interface with the world. and how it shapes the way that they describe life. Cool conversations are the kind of mental nourishment, and if ever around interesting people, you don't get to have conversations with people who are exceptional. And I think it's almost a kind of a social starvation. I think why so many people like to listen to podcasts is because you can fly on the wall and experience the inner workings of a mind of somebody who may be different than anyone you would ever normally encounter in your life. I also think that from listening to these cool conversations, they encourage people to have in similar conversations with their friends, and it just generally makes life more interesting. Okay, this is a bit, now he's talking out of his ass, right? He's going on as if like people are going to be inspired to talk about the comedy store with their friends. Okay, you need to relax a little bit. It's just a podcast. Let's chill out. Okay, let's chill out. No one's fucking framing their conversations with their real friends about I don't know about you guys, but if I hear something funny in a podcast and I want to mention to my friends, I am too ashamed to say I heard it in a pod. I'll just make up and say, oh yeah, I found out. Oh, have you seen that thing? I'll never mention, oh, I was listening to fucking Theo Vaughn and he said this. No, I'll just say I read somewhere, I heard somewhere. This idea that people are like, playing a fucking Rogan podcast in the middle of the dinner table while they eat, it's fucking crazy, man. I'm so lucky to be friends with some of the most funniest people alive, and when the people who like Brendan Schaub, and when the people hear those episodes, it's hilarious to relieve for them for the bullshit most people are going through in life. I think that the experience is extra special because nothing is planned out. There's no script of what we're going to talk about, and it's all just sort of happens in real time. It's an actual organic conversation with people enjoying themselves, which is something we can all relate to and something we can all do. These conversations have changed the way I think about life immeasurably and continue to do so. I feel extremely fortunate to be able to do it. And again, I don't think this humility from Rogan is fake. That's the thing I think about Rogan that's I think unique about him. He might be a bit of a unbearable cunt because of him being an unbearable cunt, but I don't think it's ever to do with his humility. I think he's actually a very level-headed and grounded guy for how much money he's worth and for the level of celebrity and stature and influence he has. Because honestly, give this kind of power, give this kind of money, give this kind of clout to anyone else within his vortex. Anyone else within that Jerry universe. Imagine you gave Schultz 250 million. Imagine for a minute you gave Andrew Schultz 250 million. Imagine how unbearable he would be. Rogan is pretty level-headed and grounded for the money he's worth and the stature he has. Let's be fair to the guy. I know he can be annoying, but imagine you gave Bert Kreischer 250 million. Just imagine. Tell us about the Green Room playlist. Oh no. Rogan stole Brendan Schaub's idea. Remember Brendan Schaub had that Green Room Diaries? Rogan's doing Green Room playlist. Brendan's going to be pissed when he sees this. That was Brendan Schaub's idea. Green Room Diaries. He did this thing where every time he was performing at clubs, he'd write a little comedy set and then put it out. Wow, Rogan, how could you copy Brendan like that, man? Come on, Rogan. Come on. Papa, man. Free Papa, free Papa. What kind of music would you listen to before you start the Green Room? To be fair, you know what's funny about this? Rogan has a worse taste in music. I don't know who's going to be listening to this show. This is going to be super boomer music. Rogan has really horrible taste in music and he can't dance. Anyone that can't dance, you should never listen to him when it comes to music. Never. Never. Never listen to anybody that can't even two-step or can't like bob to the beat. Don't listen to him when it comes to music, in my personal opinion. But hey, what do I know? The Green Room playlist is something we started when I realized it's more fun to turn the Green Room into a party. I learned that from Dave Chappelle. He would always come to the Comedy Store and bring a big Bluetooth speaker, and Dave had dope taste in music. It changed the vibe of the room and it actually enhanced the conversations. I copied that and started doing it everywhere I went, and it made it way more fun. When I set up at the comedy mothership, we installed a killer sound system in the Green Room, and whenever someone introduced me to something cool, it makes it on the list. Oh, okay, so it's not his taste. Fair play. It's everybody else adding to the playlist. No problem. I take it back. I thought it was gonna be Rogan's. If it's Rogan's playlist, I don't want to hear it because it's gonna be fucking Letter Kenny and shit, right? What's a band? It's gonna be fucking Letter Kenny. it's gonna be him still playing fucking Guns and Roses and shit. It's like, come on, bro, come on now, allow it. I usually play it randomly. Sometimes I'll start with the last song on the list. Sometimes I'll just spin. Look at him he's describing shuffle play. Yo, trying to fucking mansplain shuffle play is fucking crazy, bro. Like, I love Rogan. He's mansplaining shuffle. I usually play it randomly. Sometimes I'll start at the last song on the list. Sometimes I'll just spin the scroll and let my finger land anywhere. Ooh. I think the current list is over 15 hours of music. It's everything from Run the Jewels to Black Keys to Janis Joplin and Liz Phair. Yo, I'm sorry, but if I see a lineup of a festival with Liz Phair, Janis Joplin, the Black Keys, and Run the Jewels, I'm running. That is the most like get me out of here boomer lineup I've ever seen. That lineup screams hemp. You know what I mean? That screams hemp. That lineup looks like seed oils. I'm not involved. A lot of the songs are recommended by fellow comics, and there's some gems in there. And I also picked some Spotify suggestions. Ooh, nice plug there. There's also kinds of music from the list, from the country to hip hop to classic rock and Delta blues. I've got whoopsie daisy. I've got the vibe. No, I love the vibe you get from shit hopping. I love the vibe you get from shit hopping from Diane Wood. Who'd listen to Diane Wood in 2024, fam? Nina Simone, fair play. Wu-Tang Clan, fair play. Led Zeppelin, fair play. Diane Wood. You might as well put like Santi Gold on there and shit. Like, what is this? It's just fun list of cool music I love. If I had to pick one, so also no wonder, innit? Aren't Diane Wood like super racist? They like using the N-word, innit? Rogan's used nigger a few times, so maybe that's why he likes them. If I had to pick one song to get party started, it's Casey and Sunshine. I'm your boogie man. Oh, of course, man. Fucking hell. What the fuck? The best song I've ever listened to. Green Room Diaries. Look at Rogan's playlist. Of course, you got Gary Clark Jr. Gary Clark Jr. is one of Rogan's favorite black people. Him and Brian Simpson. Rogan loves Brian Simpson and fucking Gary Clark Jr. He flipping loves them, innit? Those are his favorite blacks. Fleetwood Mac, the Black Keys, and RZA, or maybe RZA as well. RZA, Brian Simpson, and Gary Clark Jr. are three of Rogan's favorite blacks, and of course Dave Chappelle. He's got Blitz Trappin' here, Blitz and Trapper, sorry. Midland. Oh, it's a Midland track here. Okay, fair play. Rolling Stones, Revivalist, Vinnie Paz, Lenny Kravitz, of course. Wood Brothers, Zach Bryan. Fucking honestly, burn my ears. More Zach Bryan. We got Kanye West track here, Jail. Nice to see there, Kanye. We got Kanye, Jay-Z, Frank Ocean, No Trust No Wild, Jelly Roll, Boo. Some decent tunes in there. So Doors, okay, fair play. There's some good stuff on there. There's some fucking good stuff on there. But yeah, check out Green Room Diaries, available on Spotify if you want to check that out. Available for listening pleasure. You can shuffle, listen to them, or play it from the start, as Rogan says. But yeah, man, 250 million, he's up. And he deserves every flipping penny of it. If anything, again, it's another reminder that the top podcasts will keep getting all the big money, and then the ones underneath will have to kind of fight for the scraps. But I do like this other approach that Spotify are doing. It's not exclusivity. We're going to sign you, of course, but then we're going to distribute it to other platforms. I love that kind of way of operating things. I think that's a far better way, especially if they're just going to let's just focus on the ads and get money that way. It's just a shame that, the way they're funding this is by firing a bunch of people. So all those hundreds and thousands of people that got fired at Spotify, they got fired to give Rogan 250 million. That's the really brutal side of it. So if you lost your job, just know that your salary went in part to pay Joe Rogan's minimum payment that he got from Spotify. It's fucking brutal, but that's the reality of life we live in now. All those flipping podcast studios that got closed, locations that are now defunct, they all got scrapped because Rogan needed his minimum guarantee, you know? And Rogan definitely doesn't play with his money. Rogan looks like the kind of person that, you know, if you're not paying him, he's not there. Like, he doesn't fuck around. So when they said minimum, he wanted it up front and he wanted it in cash. No delays. No flipping delays. Talking about no delays, look at this. Look at this. Wouldn't you have guessed this? Wouldn't you have guessed this to be the case? Look at this. Courtesy of the BBC. Adidas says it plans to sell remaining Yeezy sneakers. So after all of that virtue signaling, after all of that clutching of pearls, after all of that crying, after all of that complaining, you know, about Ye being an anti-Semite and going his anti-Semite flipping world tour, after Ye saying he's in love with Adolf Hitler, about him questioning the Holocaust, all of this stuff that he said, Adidas, you know, getting their fucking knickers in a bunch and cancelling his deal, to the point where they kind of scrubbed loads of value off a fucking Adidas stock, to the point where they took Ye from being a billionaire all the way down to being only a multi-millionaire. They're now saying they actually plan to sell that stock. That stock that they said they were going to fucking burn. They said they were going to burn the stock because Ye said he loved Hitler. Because Ye said, you know, Jewish people are to blame for all of his financial woes, right? He was kind of, you know, out here fucking spewing anti-Semitic flipping ideas and remarks and shit. And Adidas were acting as if like that stuff was horrible. You can't say this. We're going to end our partnership with you. And look what's happened. Look what's happened. They've now turned around and said, we plan to sell it. It's too valuable to burn. Duh. I said at the time, the best thing they should have done was giving the guy a timeout. I think unfortunately or fortunately, when you get in business with Ye, you have to accept the good with the bad. I don't think you're allowed to sign someone like Ye and then say, hey, you can't be Ye. You have to accept Ye, aka Kanye, is always going to be him. So you have to accept the good with the bad. You're going to get some wave runners. You're going to get some 350s. You're going to get some Yeezy boots, right? You're going to get some cool shows, but you're also going to get him questioning, you know, the number of Jews that died in the fucking concentration camps. You're also going to get him professing his love for Adolf Hitler. That's what you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. You have to accept this rough with the smooth. If you want to, you know, allow yourself to buy another holiday home in the Seychelles, if you want to put your kid through private school in Austria, if you want to, you know, support your second family in the Philippines, you have to be willing to put up with the dicey part of Ye. And unfortunately, the dicey part of Ye is as dicey, is at the same level of diciness as the same level of awesomeness as his closer. That's the issue with Ye, I think. There's no like disparity. Ye creates at such a high level, but his controversy is also at such a high level. It's almost impossible to like not react to it. It's almost impossible, right? Because at the same time he's designing amazing shoes, he's also in boardroom meetings playing fucking full porn to a fucking boardroom investor guy at a meeting one time on his iPhone. So clearly those things are kind of go hand in hand with Ye, but you have to accept it and you have to go with it if you sign someone like him, in my personal opinion. But hey, what do I know? Let's continue with the article. Adidas plans to sell the remaining stock of Yeezy sneakers from its defunct partnership with Kanye West for at least a retail price, for at least the price it cost them to make it. The firm cut ties with the rapper and fashion designer who's also known as Ye in 2022 after he made a series of anti-Semitic comments on social media. But demand for Yeezy sneakers has not faded. That's the major part of it. Business is business. The demand for Yeezy sneakers has not faded as they remain hugely popular in the resale market. And for something to be popular in the resale market, how is it popular? It has to be popular again in the retail market. So clearly people still love Ye. They still love the products he puts out. They don't care he's anti-Semitic. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. They really don't give a fuck. They love the shoes. They can separate the art from the artist like most grown-ups can do. Most grown-ups can separate the art from the artist, especially if you create a high level. I've always said, I think, like, in order to be uncancelable, you just have to be really good at what you do. I think the people who do get cancelled are pretty shit at what they do, and maybe people just would use that as an excuse just to get rid of them anyway. They don't want to see them anymore. But if you're really good at what you do, you're almost uncancelable because your fans will just keep riding for you. And Ye's fans always ride for him, clearly. It comes after the currency and fluctuations on costs. The firm €1 billion $1 billion and 50 million. That's why they're not selling that. That's why they're not gonna put that stock in a volcano. It cost them 1 billion euros. Jesus. The German sportswear giant finances were impacted last year by the discontinuation of Yeezy business as it cut the price of the wholesalers to shrink the stockpiles of goods. Despite facing significant headwinds, Adidas posted an operating profit of 260 million euros in 2023 and said it expects to almost double the figure this year. You know what's really funny? I remember reading a statistic somewhere. I forgot where I read it. I think they said that Yeezy, when it was with Adidas, I think it accounted for like 30% or something of their sales, even though like that is also, again, think about it, also this is also encompassing all of Adidas, originals, sportswear, everything. Yeezy was accounting for 30% of the overall Adidas sales. Do you know how much that is that they're selling, bro? That means they're selling literally everything is selling. Even though they're producing a smaller amount, they're selling more of it. Like, it's fucking insane. And obviously, he only started it recently, right? What, in the last 10 years or something? Crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if they re-sign him, you know? I wouldn't be surprised if they re-sign him, because I do remember that new CEO was kind of talking very glowingly about Kanye. So I wouldn't be surprised if they re-signed him. Anyway, it continues. The improvement is due to a better operating business of around 100 million euros and a decision not to write off the 268 million euros of Yeezy inventory. So they're currently sitting on 268 million euros of Yeezy inventory. Fuck. No wonder they don't want to sell it. Don't want to burn it. I don't blame them. The chief CEO, Bjorn Gulden said 268 million. Mr. Gulden was brought in from rival sportswear firm Puma at the start of 2023 to drive the turnaround of Adidas after the breakup with the Yeezy brand left it with unsold sneakers worth around 1.2 billion. So they're sitting on that much stock, but it's actually worth that much. God damn. They're sitting on 268 million, but it's actually worth in the resale market 1.2 billion. God damn it. Even though the company sold some Yeezy stock last year, net sales from the partnership were around 450 million euros, lower than 222. Lower in 2022. Adidas said it now plans to sell its remaining Yeezy stock for at least the cost of production, as it tries to recoup the losses of the once lucrative partnership. However, the company last outlook still include the potential write-off of its remaining Yeezy items, which cost the firm 300 million euros. Adidas also said it was hit by a devaluation of the Argentine peso at the end of 2023. Big up DSP. Argentina's new president, Javier Milei, devalued the country's currency by more than 50% in December as part of the economic shock therapy and the country needed. The firm also warned that its profits will continue to be hit by devaluation this year. Adidas has been a maker of the shirts of Argentina national team for decades. Last week, the rival firm Puma also said Argentina's currency valuation hit its financials as the region was its biggest and fastest growing market. So Yeezy is back on road. We're going to be able to see more of the shoes on market. I'm all for it. Yeezy's my GOAT. I never really swayed or changed on him because, you know, again, I'm a grown-up. I can't always separate the art from the artist. I proudly and very profusely wear all my Yeezy products because it is what it is. And yeah, I can't wait to see more stuff from him. I really cannot wait to see more stuff from him. And I do not care what anyone has to say about that. Moving on from that one, let's talk about Chloë Sevigny. Let's talk about her. So Chloë Sevigny did a really amazing cover story for Rolling Stone where she's gone a bit viral because she's declared her hate for dogs, which is a little bit, you know, it's a bit of a lukewarm hot take because I think most people who are in the business of hot takes, myself included, have always questioned, you know, especially nowadays, people's over dependencies on pets and shit, right? People kind of replacing actual friends, actual human connections with furry, feline dogs and cats and shit, right? It's just a bit weird, a bit annoying, especially in the UK and London. It's gone a bit crazy. Every man and their fucking dog has a fucking dog, and it is a bit too much. But I probably think it's probably tenfold in a place like New York, right? Because I feel like as much as people complain about people that have dogs and shit, the main reason why people are now so attached to their dogs and cats is because people are just horrible, innit? people are just exhausting to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I can really understand why some people are replacing actual human connection with pets. Especially if you think about it, a lot of my friends that I know got their pets during the pandemic. So they weren't able to actually go outdoors. You couldn't actually maybe see your friends. So the only way to kind of feel some level of connection, to feel some sort of love, right, was obviously to get yourself a dog. And that's why people went and got dogs. And obviously there was a bit of an issue when people were allowed to go back outside again. And then people started, basically abandoning those same dogs and whatever it may be. But the whole thing around it was that people are just insufferable and exhausting to deal with. So I'm just going to replace that with a furry animal. And I kind of get it, but I also understand where she's coming from, because just imagine what the issue will be like in New York and how packed that whole situation will be, walking down Philippine the streets, those streets in New York and stuff, and having tons of people running at you with their fucking dogs. So let's see what she had to say about the dogs thing via this article courtesy of the Rolling Stones. So the question was this: how do you feel about the state of New York City? It's increasingly a city for the rich. She says, yes. The athleisure and dogs are taking over, and it's really unfortunate. Imagine asking Chloë Sevigny about the rich when she's actually rich. Right? Isn't she one of the people that you're speaking about? Anyway, let's continue. The athleisure and the dogs are taking over, and it's really unfortunate. Everybody's in Lululemon and has a fucking dog, and it's driving me crazy. Big up Chloë Sevigny. I'm sorry, dog lovers. There are too many of you. I'm not going out to clubs in Ridgewood, so I'm sure it's there somewhere, but I'm not experiencing it. I hope there are places for people to go where they want. I miss the mega clubs and the accessibility. I would like to know that they were there in Manhattan and not in Ridgewood, which is very far. At the same time, the city seems closer as far as you're going out, or the other bars in the Uber. We do car services, and it's harder to access areas because of subways, buses, and not going to certain areas. And I really do agree with her. I really do agree that there's way too many people out there with dogs and wearing athleisure. The athleisure thing is interesting because there's this trend now, I'm sure most of you have seen it, where young girls wear like tights, and then they wear like white socks over them tights, usually Nike socks, and maybe a pair of blazers or some like New Balance shoe or like a Nike shoe, right? And then they'll have like a little North Face on, like a little puffer jacket. I always assumed those girls are coming from the gym. I didn't know that's not gym wear, by the way. Do you know that? They're just wearing that to walk around. Do you know that's a thing? People are now wearing workout clothes and not going to work out. So people are literally so lazy, they can't bother to work out. They can't bother to wear like actual clothes. So they're actually wearing athleisure stuff like, Lululemon, Under Armour, Gymshark, Nike, whatever. But they're not actually going to the gym. Did you guys know that's the thing? People are going around the street with their with their Apple AirPod Maxes, carrying a little Stanley, like I've got here, right? Little bitch Stanley, wearing their athleisure and their white socks and their fucking running shoes, and they're not running. That is insane. So imagine that person who's not actually going to work out, wearing workout clothes to go. Because again, maybe I'm a bitch, but I think wearing workout clothes to walk your dog is redacted. Just walk your dog. You don't need to like turn it into a workout. Like, not like the people that have to like merge things to get it done, I think are the most annoying people in the world. The people that turn, like, I don't know, someone at work like that uses, I'm gonna take the stairs as like a workout. That person at work, like, I'm gonna take the stairs. Go take the stairs. I'm taking a fucking lift. They put this lift here. They don't pay me enough to fucking walk the stairs anyway. If the lift is working, I'm gonna use the fucking lift. But that person's like, I'm gonna use the stairs. I'm gonna walk the long way around. It's like, yeah, go work, go for a run. You need to turn your fucking commute into a fucking workout. It's fucking redacted. So what, wearing fucking high vis outfit and running shoes to go walk your dog is super weird. Just put on your shorts and go walk your dog normally like everyone else does, right? It's not that deep. You should really walk your dog in slippers. But hey, what do I know? So I can't imagine what it's like to have those same people who aren't working out wearing athleisure also walking their dogs. It's probably infuriating. They're taking up space in cafes, right? The dog's sleeping on the floor and you have to kind of jump over it. I always hate that kind of like false politeness you have to have with other people and their pets. You have to, like, especially the people that kind of look at you and they want you to be impressed by their dog. You know, they kind of want you to impress. Like, look at my. I don't give a fuck about your little sausage dog, bro. I'll kick it down the road, bro. I mean, that's your baby, not mine. And it's on one of it sprayed along the floor in some coffee shop, and you have to kind of try and step over it. Like, honestly, people that have dogs are just as annoying as new mothers. Mothers with prams, the mothers with prams who, like, you know, career around the corner of fucking shopping aisles and try and force you out of the way and try and shame you for standing in an aisle when you're trying to fucking get some frozen French fries out from the fucking fridge, and they're looking at you like, oh, but I have a child. It's like, who gives a fuck about your child, man? Man don't care about your little Cynthia, man. Like, leave Cynthia home or put it in, I don't know, whatever. Where's the dad? Oh, okay, exactly. Like, fuck off, man. Like, you're making me having to fucking dance around your fucking buggy and shit. Honestly, I hate them. Like, I hate dog owners just as much as I hate new mums with their babies. It's so annoying. They take up all the space and make it look like, you know, you're like inconveniencing them. I love getting into little silent wars with fucking new mums where they're like, they kind of like, they come around the corner and they think you're going to move out of the way because they're a mum with a buggy. And then you're like, I'm not moving. I was standing here. You go around me. And it's like, yeah, all right, cool. And she's like, oh, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, I can't believe you had a kid. You know what I mean? I see the shape of your face. I can't believe somebody fucking impregnated you. But again, I can't say that because if I say that, I'll get arrested. So whatever, you know? We all have to kind of suck it up, innit? So anyway, let's go to The Guardian. The Guardian have a really interesting article regarding this, where they say, where some dog owners have replied, right? Replied back and kind of clapped back at fucking Chloe's statement, and let's see what they have to say. If New York is dead, then what killed it? Julian Casablancas blamed brunch. Sean Hannity left the city for Florida after complaining about the income tax, and just before plunging her to her death in a high-rise window, Sex and the City's fictional party girl Lexi Featherston. Yo, who watches Sex and the City? Because what kind of character name is that? Lexi Featherston. That's how I know the show's made for white people, innit? Only a white person would watch a show called Sex and the City and it has a character called Lexi Featherston. What the fuck is that? That's the most like trust fundy name I've ever seen in my life. Lexi Featherston. Okay. Ranted about how everything started to go wrong in New York City after they banned smoking in bars. This week, Chloë Sevigny, long-time it girl, not cool girl, it girl. Chloë Sevigny is one of the biggest legends in the world. Added another theory to the list. While promoting a new Ryan Murphy series, Feud, Capote and the Swans, Sevigny told the Rolling Stone that the dogs are at fault. She said athleisure and the dogs are taking over, and that's really unfortunate. Everybody's in a Lululemon, has a fucking dog, and it's driving me crazy. I'm sorry, dog lovers. There are too many of you, and I definitely do agree. Especially people that carry the dogs. The ones who carry the dogs like babies, they're the ones that deserve to be lined up against a wall. The people who carry their dogs like babies, you deserve to be lined up against a wall, and you should hold your dogs in your hand as you're lined up against the wall. You both have little fucking blindfolds on, and then, you know, stuff happens. But, you know, again, I can't say that because I'll go to prison. Let's read the article. What do New York dog owners have to say about this? In Brooklyn's Maria Hernandez Park on Thursday, where a popular dog run was just received approval for 300. They made a popular dog run just received approval for a $300 renovation. They're doing dog runs, but they're putting fucking skater stoppers on benches. They're not having benches some places to prevent homeless people from fucking sleeping on them, but they're fucking approving a budget of $300,000 to renovate a dog run. So dogs are more important than humans, yeah? Cool. Let's continue. I'm wearing Lululemon now. Really? We couldn't tell. I'm wearing Lululemon now, so it's perfect question for me, said Abby. She's an illustrator. Of course you're an illustrator. Of course. An illustrator. Of course. What do you draw? Tell us what you draw, man. Tell us what you draw. Of course. There is definitely a lack of respect for dog owners. Imagine wanting respect because you have a dog. What? You want respect for your pronouns. You want respect for who you fuck. You want respect for your political, like, honestly, can't you just get respect for being a person of strong character? a person for your, for your beliefs, or the things you do for charity and shit, the things you do for others. Like identity. So people are actually getting dogs just for respect. Imagine if I respect you for your dog. Get fucked. I probably respect your dog more than I respect you. That's the funny thing. I probably respect a dog more than I respect the actual owner of the dog. Like, but anyway, let's continue. There is definitely a lack of respect for dog owners who keep their dogs off leashes or who don't properly train them. All dog owners are the same. Don't try and create this fucking hierarchy of dog owners. Whether you're whether you're some gypsy down the street or some thug that has his dog on a fucking, an actual chain that you got from fucking a store somewhere, like an actual chain that you're meant to cover a fucking or bolt a door together with, or whether you're some gypsy that walks down the street with their top off and has a dog in front of them, right? Like flexing. All dog owners are the same. Don't try and act like because you gave your dog a little Barber jacket that you're better than the fucking guy that doesn't have a leash. No, you're all the same. All dog owners are the same. Let's relax. There is no hierarchy of dog owners. Doesn't matter because your dog's got a little fucking BBL as it shakes down the street that it's better than other dogs. No, all dogs are the same. I find it very unusual. I find that this usually happens in more wealthier neighborhoods, but then people who get penalized for their animals are typically not those white Lululemon girls. You're talking about white, aren't you? Okay, whatever. Nearby, a woman named Stephanie played fetch with her pit bull Bebe, who was off the leash on a soccer turf where dogs are not allowed to play. Dog owners are a specific category of annoying person, she said. I'm annoying to some degree, though it's my responsibility to handle my dog. Okay, I like that self-awareness. Big up, Stephanie. I like you. I like that self-awareness. I'm annoying to some degree, though it's my responsibility to handle my dog. I take that seriously, but have you seen how many people let their dogs act up on Upper East Street? Cool. Here's another guy with his dog, right? Jeremy, on a walk with his pup Sigma, agreed that dogs generally behave well in neighborhoods like Bushwick, historically working class. Puerto Rican neighborhoods that's rapidly gentrifying with the influx of young creators priced out downtown Manhattan, Williamsburg. He said that he could imagine wealthier spots such as Sevigny's former in the East Village being bastions of entitled owners. So they're trying to say dogs are actually more well behaved in poorer neighborhoods. Is that actually true? I don't know. I don't think that's true. I live in a pretty shitty place, and the dogs here they're not the most the dogs here kind of do what they want. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true. I don't know this like working class fucking, I don't know if this is true. I live in a fucked up area and people get ran down the street by dogs on a daily basis. I don't think this is true. Anyway, let's continue. If I lived in Chloe's life where she was walking around with other wealthy people basically being upper class Karens having a fit when their dogs aren't allowed to have yoga, then I might understand. Her world is very small. If dogs are what she complains about the most, I don't like to slag people off, but everyone in Brooklyn has a dog, and that's not new. Fact check, this writer lives in Brooklyn. Honestly, who's this saying this? This sounds spicy, innit? Chloë Sevigny is complaining that people have dogs. She's not saying that she has a dog and she's annoyed that someone won't let her have her dog at her Peloton class. She's saying she hates dogs. She's being quite upfront about it. Okay, somebody's here lipsing their dog in the park. That's completely normal. Big up this guy lipsing his dog. Out of all the reasons to ring the death knell for once Green's great city, dogs might seem low on the list. New Yorkers face record high rents and even soaring cost of living. Mayor Eric Adams slashed the price. That's what I'm thinking. If you're paying so much money for rent in New York, why would you want another mouth to feed? Unless you're feeding your dog like human food. Why would you want to like run up veterinary costs and shit? If you guys are having, people are paying like $2,000 a month more for fucking bedroom in New York. Why would you get a dog? Why don't you just keep the money for yourself? Across the East River, let's continue here. New Yorkers face record high rents and even soaring cost of living. Mayor Eric Adams slashed the the city's budgets, affecting schools, libraries, and sanitation, and more. Walk through just about any public park in Manhattan, and you're bound to run into a 20-something with a mini microphone asking if you'll answer a few questions for a TikTok video. Surely all those examples are far worse than the Canine companions. Nah. I think dog owners are worse than people that ask questions about, on TikTok. I'm sorry. Those kids who are making content on TikTok, they are the least of our problems, because that's a trend that will go away at one time. Dog owners are never going to go away. Dog owners are worse plague on society than TikTokers ever are. I don't care. I'll stand on that shit. Across the East River in downtown Manhattan, Washington Square Park, the setting for Sevigny's breakout role, coming of age street drama kids, Isabel Mino spent her morning in a dog park with Nirvana, a pit bull mix with striking blue eyes and a peaceful demeanor worthy of her name. Mino took peaceful demeanor. Yeah, how did that band end then? Come on, peaceful. Mino took issue with Sevigny's assumption that all New York dog owners were rich and could afford Lululemon, where yoga pants can cost more. Of course, you're gonna fucking start nitpicking what she said as opposed to what she the general. Okay, whatever. Let's continue. She's talking about the 1%, but that's not me, and it's not a lot of people. So if you're not a 1%er, why do you own a dog in New York? Please tell me. If you're not a 1%er and you don't have much money, why do you have a dog? Surely you should use that money to, like, I don't know, get fucked up. I don't know, hire some hookers. I don't know. Owning a dog doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with love. What? You can look after a dog with love. Okay. New York can be a very lonely city, and looking for humans to love is not always easy. Life isn't easy, bitch. Get outside and make some friends. It's hard to find friends. Like, come on, man. I have friends now, but it took me a couple of years to get that point, and dogs help. You're finding friends with dogs, but you're using dogs to catch friends. So dogs are like a form of dogs are like a Pokemon ball, right? That's how you're catching friends. You're throwing out the bait, having a dog, and then hoping some weirdo touches your dog uninvited, and then that becomes your friend. Cool, great way to start a friendship. Noel W. Anderson was in the park walking Theophilus Monk. Of course, this guy named his dog Theophilus Monk. Of course he did. Of course. Ugh. I wish I could be that corny, man. I really do wish I could be that corny. His Foxhound mix. New York University art professor called his 4-year-old pup a studio dog. This is one of those annoying professors that would walk down the fucking corridor to the fucking lectures with his little dog next to him. Like, oh, to be fair, that dog is kind of cute. I take it back. That girl's dog, Isabella Mino, that dog is fucking cute. That Nirvana, that's a fucking cute dog, right? Let's not lie. I take that kind of back. That's a cute dog. Fuck the owner. The dog's kind of cute. I'm not gonna lie. That dog's really cute. When my students are having a hard time, they lay on the floor and pet him. Your students are fucking dumb. Dogs are a hell of a benefit emotionally, and New York will put you through the fucking ringer. Maybe Chloe needs to reformulate her understanding of what life needs to be. Why does New York have to be gritty? That's just this bullshit illusion of this. Bro, New York was formed on. Honestly, why is New York? What do you want? You want New York to be fucking Dubai? It's never gonna be that, bro. New York is always meant to be gritty. That's a history in New York. Is grit. That's his bullshit illusion of the city that you have to struggle to make it, but dogs are healers. Jenny Dween had brought up her pup Winston to the park on the day of hoping she'd run into a doggist. And there's an Instagram called Doggist. An Instagram account run by pet photographer Elias Weiss Friedman. What's this Doggist account? What is this? The Doggist. Yo, imagine going out wanting to be papped with your dog. Like, are you redacted? How embarrassing of an adult you have to be to willingly go out in your coolest clothes to get papped by this fucking Instagram account. Like, you're a fucking loser. I can't believe some people, honestly. I really can't believe some adults. But whatever, let's continue. Winston wore a grey and red striped sweatshirt for the occasion. Winston. Dwin felt disappointed by Sevigny's stance. Of course she did. First of all, who cares what you wear? She's always wearing low high stuff. She's all people should let us have our Lululemon. Second, if people chose to put their dog in a sweater and a bow tie, then so be it. Oh, God almighty, man. All right, whatever you say, lady. Great for you, happy for you, but I stand in solidarity with Chloë Sevigny. Nothing she says could ever be wrong because she is the original it girl and cool girl. Everything she says is fucking facts. Big up Chloë Sevigny, the absolute bitch out there. I love her. I've always loved her, and I always will remain loyal to Chloë Sevigny. Cannot complain. Cannot complain. So, let's quickly jump on this. You seen this? We deserve better. Ex-Pitchfork employees share details of recent layoffs. So obviously most of you guys know GQ absorbed Pitchfork into their organization, effectively laying off a bunch of people. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Pitchfork is basically going to be a tab on the fucking GQ website. It's not going to be its own standalone site anymore. It's just going to be a tab. And if you know anything about Pitchfork and its importance to kind of music critique and album reviews and stuff, it's quite disappointing to have such a great platform like that just be completely absorbed by GQ. But on the flip side, it's also maybe a reflection on where media is at the moment, where the attention span is. Most people probably don't even check out Pitchfork unless you're like a nerd, a music nerd like I am. Most people just probably, you know, get their music news content from various blogs on social media platforms like TikTok or Instagram and shit, or they just find out new music by a playlist on Spotify. So maybe the function of Pitchfork doesn't really exist, or it's not necessarily needed as much as it was in the past. But I still think, as you see some other video I'm going to play about, you know, Flakko having an argument with Gredo, I think there is still a need for music criticism. I just don't know who the right people are for it, because it seems like the blog platforms, the ones that just put out the sensational, you know, messy news out there, they're not really the best place to go for that kind of critique that Pitchfork was doing. But I also don't think Pitchfork was the best place to go to discover new music or to find out what's actually going on in the culture. It was also a bit kind of stuck in its own little vortex. So let's actually read the article here regarding the employees and how they were upset that they got let go. It says former staff said that they were banned from freelancing for music site. Jesus. Weeks after 12 Pitchfork employees were laid off as part of the Conde Nast decision to fold the music publication to GQ, former staff are speaking out about the experience. Hattie Linda was hired as a part-time associate writer at Pitchfork in June 2023. She said the merger was announced in a 20-minute Zoom conference with Anna Wintour. Yo, Anna Wintour's a fucking cold savage, innit? 20-minute Zoom call. She didn't want to be there too long at all. Like, yo, you guys are out. Your paychecks are going to be coming in the month. Please, you know, send in your passport, your passwords, send back your laptops. It's been great. Bye-bye. Like, she did not hang around. 20-minute Zoom call. Global Chief Content Officer at Conde Nast and Wintour, which owns Pitchfork, GQ and other media outlets. Within 30 minutes, employees were scheduled to separate meetings to find out whether or not their positions had been affected. Linda was one of the 12 employees that were laid off. So it was only 12 in the end. They made all that stink and they're making it seem as like there's only 12 people that actually got let go. Only 12. They were crying for 12 people. God almighty. People were definitely surprised, she told Resident Advisor. My supervisors, no pun intended, at least my direct ones, didn't know about before it was scheduled. Back in December, Conde Nast reportedly told the News Guild of New York, a union of media workers, that there would be no layoffs for Pitchfork. Evan Minsker, Pitchfork's former associate news director, backed this up by RA, saying staff were told their jobs were safe. That's the thing though, your jobs are never safe, especially in that kind of environment. I think if you're a writer for that sort of publication, exactly Coiler, 8K a year. If you're writing those kind of publications, you have to know your job is up, has a potential to be cut, because you just make too much for what you do. Let's be fair. Like, no one at Pitchfork should be making 80K to write about fucking the Black Keys, right? Or the Strokes or something. Come on. Like, what do you really do to justify that kind of a salary, especially in this media's landscape we're in at the moment? There's probably a kid somewhere on Twitter that's putting out great news about indie bands and, you know, that whole scene, you know, just for free. That's doing it for the love of it, and you're making 80k, you know, writing scathing, you know, or writing and, you know, in-depth analysis of a new fucking Benny Butcher sort of fucking, come on. That's why the recent terminations are an extra shock, said Minsker. They had been a company full time since 2012 before being laid off last month. He was, again, that's a good run. I'm sorry. Working for a platform like Pitchfork since 2012? Come on, bro. Come on. If anything, if I was at Pitchfork, honestly, I say this with like all seriousness. If I was at Pitchfork and then I saw the advent of like Substack, because a lot of the music writers that I like who used to write on different platforms have now decided to kind of, most of the big ones are on Substack and they've got their own newsletters. I subscribe to a bunch of them. Some of them are really good, free, some of them you have to pay, whatever. But Substack has become such a great platform for writers to actually make a good living, because if you actually have, you know, you got a great contact list, you have interesting opinions, good hot takes and shit, people like myself are willing to chuck you $5 or $10 a month to get the news that you're going to send me every week, especially because I know it's going to be curated, it's going to be specific to my kind of interest, you're going to interview people that I'm interested in. If that was me and I was working at Pitchfork, I would have already had a Substack on the side as I'm working full time, so that if I do get cut, boom, I jump on the Substack. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I think these guys missed out on. They just assume they're going to have this full-time job forever, which is absolutely insane, because nobody really needs a platform like Pitchfork, except for people like myself and everyone else involved in the music industry. The wider community of people out there, right? The mainstream public, the normies, they don't give a fuck about a Pitchfork. You know what I mean? That's a main issue. It continues, even though I think they're important. I really do think that criticism, especially the reviews, the decimal point reviews, I think they're super important. But let's be honest, that most people don't really give a fuck. It's mostly an industry artist thing, but I think general public don't. I'm not swayed by what Pitchfork rates as best new music. They don't give a fuck. Anyway, let's continue. That's why recent terminations were extra shocks at Minsker. He'd been a company since 2012 before being laid off last month. He was working the night before without knowledge of the news and would come the following day. He'd probably working the night before, super late, put his feet up on the desk, another coffee, texting somebody on Grindr or something, right? And then boom. But even though I don't have proof they knew that it was coming, or when it was coming, they certainly knew it was coming. The past 2 years, Minx's tenure, he said he noticed the site becoming more understaffed. I went from working every shift with at least one person to multiple shifts by myself, doing the coach. There we go. See? I'm sorry, but if you go from working in an office full of people and then you're the only one there, maybe go get another job. Maybe start doing something on the side. Doing the Coachella lineup announcements by myself, as an example, was not sustained. Honestly, these guys are so allergic to working hard. Doing the Coachella lineup announcements by myself. What are you doing? Copy and pasting what Coachella put on their own website. Sharing a flyer on the social media channels and writing a caption is not sustainable. Fucking hell, man. The hubris on these people. God almighty. Anyway, there were 3 breaking news stories in a row that fell on my plate and I was by myself. There's a kid now on Instagram with probably 100k followers who does everything by himself. The fucking artwork, the text on the artwork, the captions, the hashtags. He uploads them, schedules the upload post. There's probably a kid on Instagram who has an Instagram platform, maybe even like 100,000, who has probably 10k people, 10k followers on his Instagram. Very small. He talks about whatever he talks about, football, rap culture, streamers, and he just does it himself. And these guys are complaining about having to repost a fucking Coachella lineup announcement. Coachella prepare all that shit for you. They have all the assets. They have the flyers, they have the captions. You can just reword. They have all the names of the people performing, all the pictures. Like, what do you need to do? Like, how hard is that to do? You're not creating anything. The people who do have jobs are working on a ghost ship, said one anonymous source. All their friends are gone. No one is in charge. It's just a bad scene. But they're still there though, right? Collecting a check. On February 1st, Minster also revealed that former Pitchfork staff are no longer allowed to freelance for the site. Why would you want to freelance for a site that fired you anyway? I heard this from at least 4 people who were told pretty directly from someone at Pitchfork. As an active union member, he said he feels protective of his colleagues. It feels unnecessary, vindictive, and we all deserve better. Why would you still want to write for this site when they fire you? Honestly, people that want to still work for the company that fired them are very odd. The GQ merger and subsequent layoffs are latest worrying sign of the health of the music and media. Last year, Bandcamp employees were also let go when the company was sold Songtrader, for more insight on how business deals impact journalism, read our recent op-ed. And obviously, RA reached out for Conde Nast to comment. We'll report when we hear more. So, in all, I think it's sad that everyone lost their jobs, because I've had this situation happen to me numerous times, especially during the pandemic and post-pandemic. But let's also be fair, like outside of music nerds like myself, outside of people involved in the industry, whether it's people behind the scenes, whether it's artists themselves, the wider public had no use for a Pitchfork, really and truly. Maybe they should have involved their model. Maybe they should have, they tried to incorporate a lot of pop coverage and shit. That didn't really pay off in the end. Who knows what went wrong? Maybe it's just in general, people just weren't visiting the site enough. And people like myself that cry about Pitchfork folding probably should have been watching and checking out the site more. And maybe these guys wouldn't have been fired. Fair. That needs to be said. But I also still think there is a need for a platform like a Pitchfork to exist. And it's just disappointing that in this world we live in, you can't really do anything for the love. That's the only thing that I think is disappointing. Nothing can just be done for the love. Because I feel like a Pitchfork should exist just for the love, just for the sake of it, just to kind of provide a platform for artists, to kind of shine a different light on a different subsector artist, to maybe be a bit nerdy, to be a little bit, geeky on sort of stuff, to kind of go into the weeds, inside baseball talk. There needs to be a platform just for the sake of it to exist, and it can't, of course. But the funny thing is, there's plenty of people involved in the music industry who probably could come together with their funds and probably prop up Pitchfork without having it get absorbed by GQ, and actually have it just function as just like a platform where people can kind of, geek out about music, but they don't do it. So they complain, but they don't actually put their money where their mouth is. But then the other side of the thing makes me think that we do need something to replace it, though. That's what needs to be done. I do think there needs to be a replacement, because this clip here, courtesy of the Cuhmunity YouTube channel, which features Euro3 Gredo calling in to spaz out on Flakko, I think was an example as to why we need more music critiques who are separate from bloggers and kind of cultural commentator type people like myself. I think you need somebody that has an expertise, a taste in music, an opinion on music, an outlook on music, a love for music, an appreciation for music making, song creation, who can actually be a credible voice and provide a credible platform. Maybe in the same way as like that music nerd guy, right? I don't really check him out, but that kind of thing. There needs to be one of those type of people that exist in hip hop or in music in general to kind of replace the whole Pitchfork thing, because I feel like this argument between 03 Gredo and Flakko was a great example of people conflating what somebody like a Flakko does, because I feel Flakko he's more like in the realm of like an academics, where he's more like a commentator of hip hop, but he's not actually somebody that I would ever trust their music opinions. Same with academics. Like academics, you go to kind of check out the latest news, what's going on in hip hop, but you don't actually go there for his musical opinions. I don't think so. I know I wouldn't anyway. But let me play a little bit of the clip here so you can see what happened, because I feel like the argument between Flakko and 03 Gredo was hilarious, because I think 03 Gredo doesn't understand music criticism and basically threatened to fucking punch him in the face. You know what I mean?
Abuse. I don't want to just do that.
Yeah.
I do want you to understand something, right? Okay? Before we talk about music, I want you to understand something. You know where I'm from?
Yeah, what?
Nah. You know where I'm from?
What? No, like what? Like the gang stuff, or like where you from?
So yeah, the gang stuff.
Oh, again, I heard from people that you're from Great, but I don't want to like assume.
Okay. No, me either. I don't want to assume it either, because I'm on parole. But listen here, bro.
Yeah.
you can't just talk to everybody like you talk to everybody. I don't want to say it like I'm bullying you, bro, because I really want to call him bullying. Something. I want you to understand something. Me personally, I shake it up. You hear me?
Yeah.
Like without my hood. And then I'm a big head honcho from my hood, you hear me?
Yeah.
Like my name is the street. So for one, you can't even talk crazy. But since you're talking about music, let's focus on the music.
Yeah.
All these Cali you're talking about, them my babies, you hear me?
Yeah.
Them my nieces and nephews. Because I love Snoop, but he wasn't here for us like I am for these.
Yeah.
So 310 baby, even that's from the other side, you feel me? I speak to them. We might not be able to do a song, but I still speak to them. So Osama, that's bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what's going on in the streets. You know what we talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what I'm telling you is, bro, you're discouraging my city when you say that. And I know you don't mean to. And I wanted to tell you a different way. Ask AD to show you my Texas. I wanted to tell you a different way.
Yeah.
But listen, bro, they're my babies, bro. And what you don't know, what you out the outside looking in, bro, I'm the only nigga. I ain't been out a year yet, but I'm the only nigga from Cali that got these fashion deals. I'm the only nigga from Cali that went double platinum, multi-platinum in prison.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Of course, same month. Yeah.
So do what I did. I went platinum in the city. That man was born in Harlem and raised in Baltimore and New Jersey or some shit. You hear me?
Yeah.
I'm from great. You know what I mean? I was raised in California. And I'm just saying this with respect because I like how you was talking. But listen, bro, I know you don't get it, and No Jumper is my family. But when the music thing, I had a famous freestyle to the Magnolia beat from Playboy Cardi. Me and Playboy Cardi was managed by the state first.
Yeah.
Playboy Cardi from Atlanta, ASAP is from New York. Cali shit, it's them niggas that was just put in these bad positions because of what happened with Snoop. And these niggas that wasn't from Cali, these niggas from Philadelphia and New Mexico.
Yeah.
Whatever was going on, it made a bad situation for us, and it's super not fair for you to say that when there's a 310 baby out. Fuck anyone else. My little bro, 310 baby, is the biggest thing besides Roddy Ricch. Those are the two biggest artists we ever had. Fuck what Gredo do. I'm for the streets. I'm the only nigga really selling kilos and slapping niggas in their mouth. So I'll slap you. But since you came with respect, I'm gonna come with respect. But I'll slap you if I was right there. Luckily, I'm in Detroit because you can't talk to me like you talk to everybody else. You didn't realize when that nigga Adam posted this shit, no nigga from Cali mentioned nothing about it? Because for one, I ain't no shit, but for two, more importantly, nobody want to fuck with my hood. Nobody want to play with us. And you don't know that because you're not from Cali. So you didn't grow up.
Anyway, you get the point of what he's trying to say, right? The point of what he's trying to say is that he's trying to threaten Flakko for his opinion on his music or for his opinion on West Coast music. And I feel like the reason why he's threatening him is because he honestly does feel like this guy holds some sort of weight in music criticism or culture, which he doesn't. I feel like people are conflating the fact that Flakko has a pretty big platform with his own Poetik Flakko channel and shit. He obviously does well at No Jumper. They're conflating that, and he's associated with academics, with him actually being a voice for music. So I feel like on the back of the Pitchfork stuff, there needs to be a platform that rises up that kind of fills that void. But I don't know if people actually want it, you know? Maybe academics doesn't talk about, because I've always kind of wondered, why doesn't academics talk about music? Why is he always talking about the gossip and the drama and Krayshawn this, Blueface that, Soulja Boy this? It's never about the music. It's never about like critiquing singles or, you know, saying why this single is not good or why you don't like it or critiquing albums. Like, it's always the messy stuff. And I think the reason why is because people don't actually care about music criticism. I don't think they actually do, you know? Maybe that's why he doesn't do it, because he's seen the numbers. It's like, you know what? People want me to spaz out on Lil Baby, but they don't want me to actually critique his music and actually give an opinion as to why I think 2024 Lil Baby isn't as good as 2023 Lil Baby. You know, people actually don't want to hear that. Maybe that's the whole point of it. So maybe there's the reason why Pitchfork has folded into GQ is because people actually don't give a fuck about music reviews, about, you know, someone like mine or a journalist flipping opinion on the best new music and stuff. Maybe that's the case. But anyway, that was my point in that regard. I'll leave it there, and I'd love to hear your comments if you have any. So that has been the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number, I think 743. I think that's what I said. Thank you for tuning in to the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 743. My tune of the day today is going to be Tyla's On and On. So if you are listening to this wherever you may be, please make sure you play Tyla's On and On. Most of you know who Tyla is. She did the song called Water that's actually been doing mad business out there. So I'm going to be playing that in the background. If you listen to it with the audio podcast, you hear it under my voice. If not, it'll obviously fade to black and you won't see nothing. So thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure and never a chore. For those of you tuning in live, I'll see you on a random show in a couple of minutes. Peace out, my friends. Peace.